All right, so let's look at managing queries with the Biblio Monkey database. Now, before we get into managing the queries themselves, I just want you to recognize that I've opened up a new workbook here. Well, it's got an existing data model and a bunch of queries in it, but it's also got a name error showing up here. And this is because it is looking for a Lambda function that I just happen to have in my Biblio Monkey. So rather than go and hunt it down and try and figure it out, it's nice and simple. Again, this works on every license for free or pro. Insert from Biblio Monkey, we can take our Lambda function and insert the Lambda that we have stored, inject, and away we go. We can now see that this is now returning the correct worksheet name. So this is the real power of working with these things when you get that recall ability. Now, how does this apply to queries? It's pretty similar, but there's a couple of differences here depending on what your licensing looks like. So you'll notice over on the right-hand side that I have a bunch of queries. I've got 2 that are loaded to data model. I've got 9 that are loaded as staging queries, and I've got 1 here that is a raw data connection. Remember, of course, these are just folder names. They just happen to have the load destinations that I've provided there. Now, this loaded pencil query goes to a specific database that I have on Windows Azure. So it's got a server name and it has a database name. And I don't want to have to remember my server name all the time when I'm trying to connect to a database. So this would be a really good candidate because I happen to have multiple databases on the server. So I wonder if I could just import this into Biblio Monkey, so all I need to do is fill in the database name and the rest of the query is already written. And indeed, I can do that. So let's go and open Biblio Monkey. I'm going to go to add new because I don't have any queries in here right now. And I'm going to go and change this one here where it says from, instead of blank, which allows me to create one from scratch, or library, which allows me basically to copy anything that I have in here and make modifications to it. Instead, I'm going to go to solution. And in solution, you can see it's popped open with all of the queries and the DAX measures and even the Lambda function that I just inserted into this workbook here. All of these are available for me to use as templates to build new Biblio Monkey items. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find loaded pencil. There we are. I'm going to click on it. And you can see that the way that this is built here, we've got the SQL database. So this is the address of the server itself. And here is the name of the database. So rather than call this loaded pencil, I'm going to call this one XLG database. That's enough for me to remember what it is. And the description, I always like to give these a good description here. So this is going to be, choose a database from the XLG demos server. There we go. All right. We're going to set this up as a connection only, although I could set it to the data model or a new worksheet if I wanted. I'm also going to leave this to prompt, although you'll notice that there are some other options. We could replace the query if it already exists or skip it altogether at your choice. Prompt is usually for me the best way because then at least I get the option at the time. And then there's one more thing I want to do with this. I don't particularly want this to be loaded pencil every single time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right click. I'm going to select loaded pencil between the quotes. This is important. I'm going to right click on it, add a new prompt, and I'm going to put in text here. And for this text here, I'm going to say enter a database. So it tags it nicely. And now I can say save, and it's going to reload the items here. Now, I'll go click on volume forecast with override. We'll go back to this just to make sure that yes, it really saved. We can still see our tagging here. And it's basically built an exact copy of what we had with loaded pencil with the exception of that tag. So how do I use this going forward? And the answer to that is it depends on your license. If you are on a pro license, you will be able to right click and inject it from here. You'll be able to inject it from here. You'll also be able to inject it right from the worksheet. If you are on a free license, this becomes copy and this becomes copy. It will copy the signature for you, but you will then need to go and actually create the query yourself manually. Okay, so we make this a little bit easier on our pro users because our pro users, right click, insert from Biblio Monkey. You don't even need to open Biblio Monkey. The XLG database is right there now. I can pop that one open. It says, what would you like to call it? Let's go and call this one AdventureWorks. I'm just going to copy that. tab down, paste that in here. As long as I have the AdventureWorks server now, if I choose inject, there it is. If I go and double click on it, we can open it up inside Power Query and you can see that it has two steps. It's got its source, it's got its filtered rows. Source, of course, is pointing to AdventureWorks based on the tag that I had. And you can see that this filters out the very last record for the firewall entries, giving us the AdventureWorks data. Meanwhile, if I go back to loaded pencil, completely different set of tables in this database, still got the filter of the firewall rules. Of course, this was the original query. You'd kind of expect that. And if we look back at the source, this was the original entry of loaded pencil. So this is a nice way to be able to actually pull these things and reuse them, because now any time that I need to connect to one of my databases on XLG demos, I just pop open that query, boom, it injects it. I just have to enter the database name and I've got my connection only query good to go. Now remember, with these things, you can actually add a lot more tags inside these things as well. You're not stuck to just using one. You've got the options to do different things, numeric and text-based, in order to actually make sure that things are working for you. But that's the basics of how you would go about setting up your queries inside Biblio Monkey. Thanks for watching this episode of Using Monkey Tools. To get your own monkey, visit our website at monkeytools.ca. Or if you subscribe to Skillwave's Self-Service Business Intelligence Academy, you'll get a free annual pro license included with your subscription. And remember, Monkey Tools was developed to support better Excel and Power BI solutions. If you want to learn how to really master these tools, you should definitely check out our full course catalog at skillwave.training.